Lee, hint, hint. I don't know. It'd be good to see, but I don't know. I don't have the best I don't think creative is that strong in WWE right now, and there's just a lot of talent that's being wasted and could be doing so much better things on TV right now. And God, I hope something happens to shake this up. And speaking of shaking things up, did you see the NXT main event between Johnny Gargano and the Velveteen Dream? That right there is a future WrestleMania main event. I just don't understand why creative has gotten 10 times better on NXT and even 205 Live, but the main shows of WWE, Raw and SmackDown, are suffering so badly. I've always said that maybe Raw should be the A show, put the main events on Raw, put Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, AJ Styles, Shinsuke Nakamura, Samoa Joe, Drew McIntyre, Dolph Ziggler. Put all those top guys on one show. SmackDown should be the NXT and the 205 Live. All the guys that haven't made it to the Raw level yet. That's where they should be. That's what would make good TV. It would condense all of this endless weekly marathon of wrestling. We'd cut it down to 2 shows. 2 shows would be out, and there'd be more TV time for the younger guys and less for the guys that don't really need it. And speaking about young talent, today's guest is a young talent based out of Massachusetts. He's been wrestling mostly in New England as part of NCW in Rhode Island. His name is Channing Thomas. You may not have heard of him yet, but you will. He's been branching out into New Jersey, getting closer to New York State, but hasn't gotten quite into New York State just yet. But he'll be coming here soon. And just hear the guy's story. He is a young wrestler, fresh out of training. He's starting his way to bigger and better things. He was the breakout star, voted the breakout star of NCW in 2017. He was trained by Bo Douglas and Toto Loco. So, as his career is developing here, he's getting bigger and bigger matches, getting in the ring with bigger and bigger names. So, a lot of comparisons have been drawn between him and local. Well, I can't say local, but locally, he's been through here a lot. Richard Holiday, the most marketable man in professional wrestling. So there's been a lot of comparisons. The guys know each other. I'm sure they haven't wrestled together yet, but they will. And speaking of Richard Holiday, just throwing out an apology to him. We had some technical difficulties during his interview with the podcast a couple days ago. So we hope to correct those, get Richard back in for an interview, and hopefully we'll have an interview with him on the podcast sooner rather than later. So my apologies again go out to Richard Holiday for the technical difficulties. The one thing I just want to preface before we get to the interview with Channing Thomas, there's a lot of fans out there who aren't exposed to a lot of independent wrestling. You can see this when you go to a WWE event and the place is at near capacity. Maybe not so much here at the War Memorial when they do their house shows, but you see Raws are sold out, pay-per-views are sold out. But when you go to your local indie shows, they struggle to fill 200 seats. I urge all of you to check out your local independent wrestlers, your local independent wrestling promotions. This is where your big stars of tomorrow are getting their start. And if we don't support that, then there's a lot of talent you'll never see, you'll never be exposed to. There is a big show coming up Saturday, September the 29th in Westmoreland. It's Dynasty's Table for Two. Get out. Go see it. It's $12, and it's a couple hours out of your night on a Saturday night. go out, see the matches, and then go out after for some drinks with your friends. That's all you got to do is check them out. If you hate it, don't go back. But guess what? You're going to like it, and you're going to want to come back and see more dynasties. So I'm getting kind of off on a tangent. So I'm going to stop right here, and we're going to introduce our next guest on the podcast, and we're going to welcome Channing Thomas to the show. All right, there we go. Okay. So Channing Thomas, thank you for joining us on the CNY Wrestles podcast. How's it going? What's going on in your world?
This past Friday and Saturday, I worked 2 stadium shows for Top Rope Promotions, one in Lowell, Massachusetts at LeLacheur Park for the Lowell Spinners. The other last night was Campanelli Stadium, home of the Brockton Rocks. So a very fun weekend. My first ever stadium shows. I had a blast.
Who did you face over the weekend?
On Friday night, I wrestled in a 4-on-3 handicap tag match. Me, the professional Channing Thomas, Sexy Jesus Hammer Tunis, the Devil's Reject Brandon Webb, the Prize Alec Price, took on Tough Guy Tim Hughes, Brutal Bob Evans, and Powerful Pat Garrett.
Is this the first time you've faced those guys?
Yes. I've worked with Alec a little bit before, and I worked with Hammer Tunis a bit, but the other 4 men in the match I have not had the pleasure of sharing a ring with until Friday.
So you are mostly based out of New England, correct?
Correct.
And I mean, did you get started in NCW, or was that where you ended up?
NCW was one of the first places I started wrestling. I think I did my second show for NCW, and they kind of just took me in, brought me in like a family, and I've loved working there ever since. So it's one of my favorite places to work.
And you were actually their breakout star of 2017.
Correct, absolutely.
You were just coming off, is it NCW Fallout was in Rhode Island, where you faced Lumberjake?
Yes.
And
that was 2 weeks ago, I believe.
And he won that match, correct?
Correct.
How was it facing Lumberjake? How did that match come about?
Lumberjake, he's a ferocious, spirited competitor. I thought I did my best to. He loves throwing chops at me, so I try my best to utilize his hand against him almost. So I wanted to make sure he couldn't chop me at all. So I tried my best to break his hand, honestly. But unfortunately, with Lumberjacks, they don't really care how much you hurt them. They're still gonna attack you the best they can, and he did that. He did just that. So, yeah.
You're a relatively young wrestler. Where did you get your start? How were you trained?
So I was trained by the Dynasty Bo Douglas and Toto Logo in the Bell Time Club of Wakefield, Massachusetts. That's like my home training center. I ventured out a little bit. I've gone to Brian Fury's school, New England Pro Wrestling Academy, a couple times. I've been to the lockup down in Fall River once. But Bo Douglas is my home trainer. I credit him for every step that I take right now. It's mostly because of him. He's taught me how to be a professional, and he's taught me how to be good in the ring and outside in the back area as well.
So for fans that might not be familiar with you yet, tell us a little bit about Channing Thomas.
Channing Thomas, I am the quintessential bro, the kid you see on college campus who's playing PS2, slugging a couple natty lights, skipping class maybe, who knows, just that's the type of guy I am. And in the ring, I'm a I have a fun-loving atmosphere. I love fun, but I also love winning just as much. So,
And you're from Saugus, Massachusetts, is that right?
yeah,
Are you still there, or did you move to Rhode Island?
no, I'm still in Saugus.
Where is Saugus?
Saugus is about 30 minutes, maybe 20 minutes north of Boston.
So you're not too far from the New York area. Have you been into New York at all for any of the wrestling?
No, I've never wrestled in New York. I wrestled in Jersey last week, but I've never wrestled in New York.
Just wondering if you're familiar with any of the local promotions like Dynasty or MLW comes through here a lot. Any plans on going with them anytime soon?
That's not really for me to say. I've been to a Dynasty show. I loved it. I loved the atmosphere. It was a great show. It's 5 hours away from me, so it's a little bit of a drive. But I mean, it's definitely one place I have my eye on. So, in MLW, I've never been to an MLW live event yet. I'm trying to make my way over there, but I have not yet been to an MLW live event.
What's your ultimate goal? Let's say within the next 6 months.
6 months?
Yeah.
I'd love to wrestle in the Super 8 tournament. The one that Richard Holiday just won
Over in
a couple months
ECWA.
ago. Yes.
Mm.
That's kind of where I would love to make my name right now.
And that's usually like a springtime event, right?
Yes.
What do you have to do to enter that tournament? What qualifies you for the Super 8?
I'm not really sure, honestly. I don't know how to go about that. I wish I could tell you, but I just don't have the answer. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So beyond the Super 8, what would even just participating in the Super 8 do for you professionally?
Well, I mean, I'm going to win the Super 8, so if I get in the ring, if I get a chance in that tournament, I'm making the most of it. So I'm going to win that. I'm not participating. I don't do participation trophies. I'm winning the Super 8. I think that would just elevate me to the next level. I think it would make me a superstar almost. Or actually, no, I'm already a superstar. I think it would expose me to a broader fan base and kind of just get people talking about me,
What's let's say this year isn't your year for the Super 8. How else can you make your mark, get your name out there?
Well, winning the Super 8 one would elevate me to that next level. I'm sorry, in terms of the question, do you mean like other plans or like specifically in the Super 8?
No, even other plans. Even if you don't win the Super 8, how else would you get your name out there?
My goal for 2018 is to travel more outside of New England. I love New England. It's awesome. I love the weather here, but I think more people need to know who I am, and the best way to do that is to go hopefully around the country and start having people start talking about me. Like I said earlier, exposing myself to a broader audience is my goal, and I want people to know just how good I am.
So what matches are coming up for Channing Thomas? So who are you facing next?
So on Saturday, Pro Wrestling Takeover in Maine, me and my partner Connor Davies are wrestling against The Street in Pro Wrestling Takeovers. I believe it's their first ever anniversary event. So their first Revolution Around the Sun as a promotion. is coming to a close, and I've been grateful enough to